Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harping on Rugby preview show on our YouTube channel. Please be sure to hit that like and or subscribe button if you can. Joining me this week is Someone Learning Harping podcast number 43. He's the owner-operator of Post to Post Sport. Welcome back to Mr. Ciarán Duffy.
I'm getting close to that 50 mark now, getting close to that 50 caps, but I know Harping on Rugby's getting close to the 500 mark as well, so that's, I think, next week, so we're a few milestones coming up.
That's it. Yeah, we've got a special episode for that coming up as well. So, let's look at that next match. It's of course our feature match of the week. It's Ireland v Italy in round 2 of the 2026 Guinness Six Nations. It's taking place at the Aviva Stadium on Saturday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Perfect way to spend Valentine's Day. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. It's kicking off at 2 on Irish time with TV coverage on Virgin Media 1. Ireland named their matchday squad at lunchtime on Thursday. If you're watching on YouTube, it should be right there on the screen, or for pod listeners, it's in the program notes. Now, Ciarán has picked out some points. He's going to look at the forwards and the back separately, starting with the forwards.
Yeah, I think the main names that jump off the page in terms of the forwards is Edmund Adogbo and Cormac Isachukwu. I was actually calling for Adogbo to be in the squad last week, to be honest, because I think he's the kind of player we need, that big physical lock. Joe McCarty is also in that role. He didn't have a particularly good game last week, so I would hope Adogbo gets plenty of game time regardless of what the score is. I think he's the type of player, he can have that transformative effect. I think he's one we have to look at bringing through in terms of the World Cup, because he's just such a big physical. To be honest, if he hadn't have had that injury for basically 2 years, I think he would have had a couple of caps by now. Cormac Isachukwu as well, another one who can do that hybrid 6 back row, hybrid 6 second row job. I think it's I heard on the radio someone saying Tyburn was dropped. I don't think he's dropped. I think it's just a case of rotation, but I'd like to see him play at 6 in this game rather than as lock, and it looks like that's what's going to happen. Would have liked to have seen Timoney start, because I think and look, he's not a young player either. He's nearly 30, so still, that being said, he'll be more closer to his prime than Van der Fleer will be in the next World Cup. And to be honest, I think that's what we really have to look at. I think we have to take a selection of players and say, look, who's going to be ready to go at the World Cup? Because right now we have a lot of players who were the golden generation and now they're aging out, and that's not ideal. But Dogbo, I think, is going to be a big physical presence for us going forward. Like McCarty, I actually could see a situation where when we play England and next time we play South Africa, Joe McCarty and Edwin Adogbo starting together, with James Ryan on the bench. I think Lockman and Milne and O'Toole, I think, have a real chance, because I think Lockman was actually pretty good. I was worried about him. He was kind of my third choice out of the reserve loose heads, I suppose, to start, but I think he actually played particularly well. And Tom O'Toole as well, I think, is a player who probably just hasn't gotten that run of games because there's been players in front of him, so I think it's a chance for them to lay down a marker. I think what we need is that competition in the back row, and it's a bit of a cliche, but to light a fire under the squad. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how Edwin gets on, and I call him Edwin because we're mates, obviously. Cormac Isachukwu as well. I think injuries have stopped those two players from racking up a few more caps. They'd probably be in the squad, and that is something, in fairness, that we can say in favour of the coaching ticket, that maybe part of the reason they haven't made loads of changes is because of the injuries. And in fairness, I absolutely don't think there's any point in going the route we did against Georgia or Portugal, where we had to, with the Lions, sort of just making wholesale changes, playing a completely different 15, 23, and then you're back to normal the next week. I don't think that helps anyone. But there too, I really am looking forward to seeing, and I hope we get a bit of time with Adogbo and McCarty. Hopefully, I think McCarty needs to have a better game. Look forward to seeing Conan as well as a big ball carrier. Timoney, I think, is one of those players. He's not so much a sleeper pick, because I think a couple of people are talking about it, but maybe for the World Cup he'll be a big player for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting lineup, all right. It seems to be it's not so much that it's dropping anybody, but it's acknowledging that there's a lot of positions. I mean, we were all talking about how are we going to replace Sexton a couple of years ago, but it seems to be acknowledging that there's a lot of positions around the team where we are going to have to replace them eventually with quality players. Ty Burns, an example. Obviously, we'll need him. It's great. It'd be great to have him off the bench, and it's a strong bench to have. But Izuchukwu seems like exactly the right type of person to be coming in. He's shown the quality, and this is finally he's getting his chance, like you say, with injuries to show what he can do at test level. That same can be said for Josh Van der Fleer. He's someone we've relied on a lot, but we need someone to take his place. They've done this Kalen Doris to 7 thing before. It's a great way of getting Jack Conan into the team, because I mean, how could you leave Jack Conan out of any test team? But it's just the way it's worked out for Ireland recently. So there's a lot of scope there, and then we'll look in the backs now as well. There's some positions there where some players we need to try some other options as well. But it is a very interesting pack, and the 6-2 split in the bench yet again, which gives the likes of Timony and, like you say, a Dogberg chances to come on, and also of course great to see Tyke Furlong able to make the bench there as well. Okay, so we'll move on to the backs now.
Yeah, I think the big name there is Craig Casey. I think he will be the starting scrum half come the World Cup. And again, that's not a case of dropping Jamison Gibson Park. I think he still has a big role to play, but I think this is what we're going to see. I don't think it's set in stone who starts a fly half yet. Prendergast certainly seems to be the favourite of the coaching staff right now, but I think we're going to see Casey play for 50, 60 minutes come the World Cup. And then Gibson Park come on. We know how good he is at making his breaks and spotting gaps and those tricky little passes. But at the end of the day, you lose a bit of pace when you get a little bit older. So I think Casey is it's right to bet him in now. And to be honest, I'd nearly make the point that barring injury, Casey should probably start the remaining Six Nations games, just give him a chance in the same way Prendergast started most of the Six Nations games last year. Sam Prendergast starts, Jack Crowley on the bench. I mean, I think it's a case of, to be honest, I don't think for so long, look, it's been said to that, I think the 10 debate is nearly just a way of filling column inches now at this stage. But it's been said to that for so long we had Ronan O'Gara, he was out now 10. Then there was that time we had O'Gara and Sexton, and then for so long it was Sexton, and before that there were players as well. I think what we need to do is learn to use who we have when we need them, and there's something to be said for Prendergast. I think people are overly critical of his defence, but he's not the best defender. It's not the strong point of his game. He's more of an attack. Crowley hasn't been on good form, but he is a better defender. So I think it's just a case of learning how to use both. And in fairness, if you're going to a 6-2 bench, there's not really any point in having Prendergast on the bench then, because Crowley does cover fullback and centre, and I actually think, like Leinster have been, when Prendergast has played with Harry Byrne, I think there's a potential Ireland are better with 2 of Prendergast and Crowley, or 2 of Byrne and Crowley, or 2 of Byrne and Prendergast on the pitch, or Frawley. So I think it's kind of a case of we just have to learn how to use them together, to be honest. There mightn't be a time for another little while where one is outstanding over the other. Bit disappointed not to see Frawley in the squad. I would have, Ciarán Frawley, that is, rather than Crowley. I think he would have deserved to go a full back because he's actually been playing there. I think Jamie Osborne, in fairness, I don't think it was his fault. He didn't have a particularly good game last week because, I mean, fullback's probably is not his favourite position, but I think he's a very good fullback when the team around him is playing well. When the team around him isn't playing well, then I think he starts to struggle a little bit, which is understandable, but also he hadn't really played any rugby since November, so I think maybe there would have been a call to have him on the bench and Frawley starting. McCluskey and Ringrose. I think McCluskey, age-wise, is probably the most suited to still being around as starter at the World Cup, because again, 13 is a place we need that bit of depth. I'd like to see Postlethwaite start at some stage because he seems to be next in line. I think centre is an area we really need. Would have called forward you, Gavin, Dan Kelly, someone to come in and just learn to hold down the position, because look, we've seen Ringrose, I don't think he's had a great season, and in fairness, I think part of that was he got injured on the line sore, but I think McCluskey, I'd like to see him start with Postlethwaite at some stage, because Postlethwaite would have that familiarity. James Lowe's back. I'd like to interested to see how he gets on. I hope he has a bit of a chip on the shoulder about not playing last week. I think look, it's easy to say in hindsight, I think playing Stockdale last week was the wrong decision because he's not a strong defender and we were always going to have a lot of defending to do on the wings. Jamie Osborne, as I say, at 15, and Balakune at 14. Again, another one, I think he just hasn't had that run due to injuries, and while that's worked out well for Tommy O'Brien, and we've seen from Tommy O'Brien, who's played in the past, and again, I don't think he's been dropped here. We've seen from him that if you can recover from injuries, put a run of games, get her at provincial level, you can get a place in the squad. So I think it's a big game for him. But yeah, very interested here that Casey Prendergast access and possibly the Casey Crowley and Gibson Park Crowley access gets on. Although I could see a situation where Crowley actually comes on at centre and fullback, because I do think we've seen with Leinster, I do think Prendergast is better, very good at fly half when there's another stronger defensive fly half on the pitch. I obviously don't watch Munster as much as Leinster, but I think Crowley hasn't been on the best of form, and maybe it'll suit him as well to come on when there's another fly half on the pitch. So very interested to see how they get on. But yeah, I just hope everyone kind of has that bit of a chip on their shoulder. And I think someone said in the WhatsApp, I think Mark said in the WhatsApp group, Prendergast probably needs an error-free game, and I agree. I think he needs to, certainly on forced errors, he kind of needs to cut those out to really justify his continued selection at 10. Otherwise, you have to start talking about maybe Harry Byrne or Jack Crowley getting a run at starting at 10 in the Six Nations at some stage. But not ideal that the next game is against England, because we're probably not going to see too many changes beyond this. But yeah, I think if Prendergast has a game full of unforced errors, then I think we're talking about probably Crowley or Harry Byrne starting. But ultimately, I think we have to learn to use who we have in the right combinations, because, look, I know finishers is one of those rugby buzzwords now that everyone uses, but at the end of the day, rugby is a game of your 23-man squad, and you have to learn to use your bench as well. So I don't really look at it as one player being favorited over the other or one player being dropped. I think it's a case we have to learn to use those both, and if we have a 6-2 bench, it makes sense to have the more versatile player on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting lineup, especially the way they completely changed the back three. It gives us an entirely new look back there. I mean, fullback, the way Ireland is at the moment, we've got such a specialist, definitely one of the first names in the team sheet type player in Hugo Keenan. If he's fit, he's going to play in the World Cup. So the thing about World Cups and fullbacks is you can only really afford to bring one specialist fullback. So the thing is that, people will say maybe Mike Haley or someone like that, who plays fullback a lot, in the squad as well. But the thing is, if you're definitely going to bring Hugo, you need a backup that's going to be that's versatile, that's able to play those positions. That's why Leinster have had so many different fullbacks, and that translates into Ireland. Jamie Osborne, now Jimmy O'Brien, and of course Jack Crowley can play back there as well. We're going with those types of players. It's a very key position, but it's you can see why they go with these alternatives. So we'll see how that works out. Sam, I just think he needs to know when to play simple and know when to he's got such great talents. He's got such great innovation. He's just got to find his levels as to when there are a lot of times, a lot of plays where you just got to do the simple thing. You can't do the fancy thing, on every kind of play. But he will, I do believe he will get there. And I do agree with you on James Lowe as well. He'll be chomping at the bit to get back. So it is an interesting lineup all the way through the squad for sure. Okay, now it's time to have a quick look at our opponents. The Azzurri are looking to avoid the wooden spoon 3 years running for what would be only the second time since they joined the competition. They got this campaign off to a great start last weekend with a dramatic victory over Scotland. Back in November, they scored wins over the Wallabies and Chile, either side of defeat to the world champion Springboks. They should definitely give it a go on Saturday, Ciarán.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think this is the foregone conclusion it's been in the past. I think if this was 5 years ago, maybe we would be saying, grand, this is Italy, we can play the second team, but I don't think that's the case here. And in fairness, looking through the lineup, one thing that's notable is the now strength of Benetton and Zebre in the URC, I think, because they're making up the bulk of this squad. But yeah, look, they've got a good team, they've got a good midfield. I think they're missing I always pronounce his name wrong. Kapuwadze, you're going to correct me. I always too many vowels there for me. But I can't pronounce Italian names unless it's a pasta dish, unfortunately. But it's a very strong team. One thing I noticed about them playing against Scotland. They deservedly beat Scotland, and to be honest, they should have won by more because I think they scored with their first 2 real chances in the game, and their first try came out of nothing. But from there, they had other chances. They had plenty of other entries into Scottish territory, and to be honest, they didn't convert them. And I think they're going to have to convert more against us. But also, I think it's going to be difficult for us because their defensive style is interesting in that they kind of, when Scotland were attacking, they'd make the tackle, they'd take the player down, so it's a ruck, and then they'd step back. They'd have their whole squad basically in a line across the field. They wouldn't commit numbers to the breakdown to try compete to turn it over. So that means one thing: if they do that, Ireland will find it easier to retain the ball because no one's competing at the breakdown. So as long as we don't infringe or knock it on, we should retain possession. But at the same time, what are we going to do with it where we get it? Because there's not going to be any space out wide. I think we're kind of going to have to go through that bashing up the middle, which is somewhere I think Conan and the Dogbow and McCarty should be strong at doing. But it'll be interesting to see. I think they're going to force us to kick a lot, and then they'll have possession. And I don't think they'll give up possession as easily as we do. We could see last week they were able to make tries out of nothing, but I think really their midfield is quite strong. Their backs are quite exciting, and they're just a more complete team than they were because I think for us all in the early Six Nations days, we kind of looked at Italy and thought they always had a couple of decent players. Now they have a good squad. Now they have a good 23 they can put out. And I think we can see over the past 10 years that even though there was something like 3 years in a row they didn't win a game or something, but we can see over the past few years they have improved. I think they're capable of pulling off a win against anyone in this tournament, and there's no reason it can't be Ireland. But I think it'll be what we do with possession will be more important than what we do without it, I think, because we see the way Italy play. They kind of have that defensive mindset when they're defending, I suppose, that they don't commit to the breakdown, they don't compete to turn it over, they don't leave gaps, and Ireland are going to have to find a way around them, so it'll be difficult. But no, I think the squad is a strong Italy team, and I don't think they're the 4 try bonus point win we used to be able to guarantee against.
Yeah, I mean, in our last wrap after the France game, Mark Jackson pointed out that how strong, especially their center pairing of Menoncello and Brex was. So we've kind of caught a break in a sense that Brex is now to play. Apparently for family reasons, he's stepping aside for this one. So we do have an advantage there. And the key here is we have to take him on in the forwards. I think that it's whatever we're going to do at the backs, it's not going to work if they're not getting the right kind of ball. And they've gone for a 6-2 bench split as well. We've got to toughen things up. We've got a strong bench in the forwards as well as on the pitch. So hopefully, if we can tighten things up there, we can get at them. But like you say, I think the best compliment you can pay to the Italians at the moment is that when we're talking about players developing in the team this season, now we're always saying, oh sure, yeah, he can get a start against Wales. That's what we're saying. Like in previous years, that sentence would always end in Italy. So that's the way things have gone. Okay, so we're going to move on to the officials now. It's Holly Davison holding the whistle on Saturday with Matthew Carley, Luke Ramos, and Ian Tempest. We always end up somehow our teams always see Ian Tempest as the TMO. I don't know what that is. Maybe he likes coming to Dublin or something. The weather in Dublin is supposed to behave on Saturday. It's been an awful week rain-wise. There's probably going to be a bit of rain around D4, but the wind won't be so bad. I don't think it's going to be kind of the treacherous kind of conditions, so fingers crossed for that. Now it's time to have a look at the other matches this weekend. Of course, the under-20s are playing on Friday evening, also against Italy, but there's a couple of other big Six Nations matches as well. Which one stands out for you?
I think England-Scotland is going to be the more competitive game. Because I look at England, they're very strong compared to where they were even 2 years ago when they beat Ireland to stop us winning a Grand Slam, and it was probably considered an upset. I don't think it would be considered an upset if we lose to them this year. But they should be competing to win the tournament. Scotland will be looking to bounce back, and Scotland are just one of those constant false dawn teams. It seems like that every year we talk about, they could probably beat anyone in the tournament, but they're not going to rack up multiple wins. They're not going to beat everyone, and that would be case in point if they lost Italy and then beat England the next week. I think England are going to win that one. The other way, France against Wales, excuse me, shouldn't be an issue for France. I think they could. I think they could. They could field any team and beat Wales. I think it's just the way it is for Wales. It's just really a case of not letting it get embarrassing. Obviously, Wales have a lot of problems in terms of their game at the moment, and to be honest, like I think they'll just be looking to get any sort of win in this Six Nations. But England Scotland should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm thinking it's always a little. Funny enough, we were looking back last season thinking, how did Scotland lose that game? Because they were probably the better team, and England managed to sneak into second place and managed to beat France, and now this time around they're probably one of the favourites to win the tournament. So it goes to show what can change in a year, and that does stand to Ireland. But I think Scotland, they're always up for playing against England, and they're always they do have a good team on paper. It's just the age-old problem of games not being played on paper. So they should be more up for this one, but they were pretty poor against Italy. So I think like us now playing Italy, I think Scotland need a big response if they're going to do anything in this tournament.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going back to our feature match now, and it's head on the block time. How do you see it going in D4 on Saturday?
I think Ireland will win. I don't think it'll be particularly comfortable. I don't think it'll be... There were times in the past where maybe it was a scrappy Italian performance for 50 minutes and then Ireland run away with it. I don't think it'll be like that. I think it'll be much tighter. I think it'll be a one-score win. I'm thinking maybe Ireland by 6 points. But I think, as you said, we have the better forwards. And if we can figure out what to do when we have the ball, I think we should. I think we'll see a response compared to last week against France. So, excuse me. I think, Ireland by 6 points, I'll say.
Yeah, the bookies have it by 16. I think that's something we should probably aim for at least. But it all depends. We need to get off to a really good start, and like I say, dominating the forward. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, listen, we're gonna leave it there, man. Thanks again for joining us. Hope to have you back on again soon.
Yeah, looking forward to making an appearance on the 500, and hopefully after that as well. I'll try to do the maths to figure out when my 50 a cap might be. Hopefully it's a good game.
There you go. And thanks to you all for checking out our latest preview show. Be sure to enjoy the match wherever you are, and leave your thoughts on our Facebook page after the full-time whistle. Look out for that rap pod as well, which we're recording on Sunday evening. Hopefully you'll help us out by liking, sharing, and subscribing. In the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Slán.